Hi everybody, welcome to the Peak Lapel and another episode of The Road to Mykonos. So today what I thought I'd talk about is the decision-making process as to which car to take on the Gumball 3000, which of course this year is from Mykonos to Ibiza. But before we go any further, timepiece check, and that is Rolex Submariner date LV, aka the Hulk. So choosing which car you're going to drive is probably the most exciting decision you're going to make, other than obviously making the decision to do the Gumball in the first place. It's obviously an incredibly important one, and there are all sorts of factors that you have to take into account, bearing in mind the length of the rally, the heat, the speed at which you're going to be driving, the length of time you're going to be driving, potentially the amount of luggage you're going to have to take, traffic. So many different factors you have to take into account. But before you get to all of that, you have to decide whether you're going to use your own car or you're going to rent one. Now there are obviously positives and negatives to both sides of that coin. So I thought I'd just sort of run through those first of all, and then move on to my decision, and then the factors that I thought were key in deciding which car to actually take. So to give you an idea of what it costs to rent a car, for example, which plenty of people do on the rally. Many don't want to ship their car, many don't want to put that many miles on their very expensive cars. It's totally understandable. There's absolutely nothing wrong at all with renting a car, and it's certainly something that I considered very seriously. So let's say you want to rent, let's say, a Lamborghini Aventador S. Now that is going to cost somewhere in the region of £25,000 for the entire rally. So that's the 8-9 days that the rally actually lasts for. Then if you're looking at something like a Huracan Performante, that's a Spider version, slightly less, that's around £21,000. Then if you're moving towards the Ferrari models, a 488 Spider is about £19,000 or £20,000, and the California T is about £16,000. McLaren 720S, around about the same sort of price as the 488, as you might expect, and then the Audi R8 around about £17,000. So they're the ballpark figures that you're looking at in terms of renting a car for the rally. Now, what you have to bear in mind is that does include obviously getting the car to the start line and returning it to wherever it needs to go once you finish the race. But that doesn't include insurance. And insurance can obviously be incredibly expensive as well, and it would be an amount on top of that. Now my estimate was, depending on which car you go for, obviously it depends on the make of the model and the price of the vehicle. Insurance is very price dependent. So my estimate was that insurance for the week could cost anywhere between £7,500 to perhaps even £15,000. So there you have I think a pretty good idea that for the week you're probably looking at somewhere in the region of £20,000 to £35,000 in order to be able to rent a car. Okay, so that's one option. Then the option really is, and of course your petrol and all your expenses are on top of that. Then of course your other option is using one of your own cars. Now of course to do that, then you're going to have to pay for the shipping, because obviously that's not included. You're going to have to pay for your insurance, and again that is something that is very model and price dependent. And perhaps more importantly, you're going to have to pay for that car to be not only readied before the rally, but it's going to have a pretty thorough check afterwards as well, because it's 3,000 really hard miles, intense. it'd be going through cities, lots of traffic, I'm sure, as well as some high-speed motorway work as well. So there are all sorts of reasons as to why you might think to yourself, actually, renting a car is probably the way to do it. It removes all of that concern before and after the rally. It's all sorted for you. I think what's also worth bearing in mind when you rent is, particularly with the company that works with the rally, they actually provide a support car as well. So if there's a flat tire or there's any issue with one of the cars, then they will be on hand to help you out. So you have to factor all of these things in to the cost. So for me, the flip side in terms of using my own car, why would I want to do that when I'm potentially risking my own investment instead of somebody else's? For me, as the first Gumball rally that I'm going to be doing, I thought to myself, well, I could rent it, but the flip side of that is I don't get to keep the car that I've actually done my first Gumball rally in. And so when I was thinking about the process, I actually very quickly came to the decision that I wanted to do it in my own car, something that would be very special for me in the future, and hopefully, for my family. And when kids come along and they think that their dad isn't that cool, they can just go down to the garage and I can remind them that that's the car that I did my first Gumball rally in. So I actually made the decision pretty quickly that I was going to do it in my own car. So then the next question really was which car to do it in. I thought to myself, well, should I maybe even consider buying a car specifically for the rally? And then I started thinking to myself, well, what are the options really that I need to be thinking about? What are the factors that are going to be key for a great Gumball 3000 rally car? So the options for me were either a Ferrari California T, or a Ferrari F355 Spider. And then I thought, so well, if I buy one, what characteristics am I looking for? Now, some of you may have seen the video that I have already done of an Aston Martin Vanquish Volante, and that gives you an idea of the kind of things that I was looking for in a Gumball 3000 car. It's got to look the part. It has to have the pace. It's got to be comfortable. It has to have enough room for luggage. It needs to make a great noise. All of these things were vital for me when making the decision. And obviously, if I was going to look at purchasing one, it needed to be within my price point. And I had identified a price point between £100,000 and £150,000 to speculate to see if that's what the decision I was going to make in terms of buying one. So I listed all those characteristics, and the Aston Martin Vanquish Volante came top of the list because it has all of those things. And I wanted a convertible. It's going to be extremely hot driving through. We've got Mykonos, Athens, Thessaloniki, Montenegro, Venice, Monaco, Barcelona. It's going to be hot, so at some point I'm going to want to put the roof down, which is why I wanted a convertible. So the Aston Martin was top hit, and as I was driving, it was a lovely car to drive, but it didn't shrink around me as I was going faster, like, for example, the Ferrari California T does. The Ferrari feels so much more sporty than the Aston, and I started to really question through that drive, as nice as the Aston was to pilot, why I was actually considering buying another car when I already had two incredible options. So as lovely as it was, I actually put that out of my mind really quite quickly, and then focused on the two that were already available. And really it was just a process of elimination then. Now, some of you may have seen my video of the Ferrari California T. It's a beautiful car, incredibly comfortable, great GT car, but really does pull off the supercar trick very, very well. Makes a good noise. You can definitely imagine crossing continents in it. and of course, because it's a retractable hardtop, you actually get the best of both worlds as a coupe and a convertible. Then they had the option of the F355. Now, the main concern for me that I had with that car was, bear in mind, this one is from 1997, so it's now 22 years old. Is it going to be reliable enough for me to be able to trust it over 3,000 hard miles on the rally? And I spoke to an awful lot of people about this, including specialists and those from the garage where I bought it from, and who have looked after it for me, and they said actually it's probably one of the cars that has the least to go wrong with it, because it is so mechanical, and it's one of the last of the old, what is the last old type Ferrari. Much fewer electronics to go wrong. It's probably got a better, as good, if not a slightly better chance of getting you through than any other. So then it was making the decision, okay, well, it's not quite as comfortable as the California T, it's not quite as fast, obviously, in fact it's nowhere near as fast as the California T, but the upside is, for me, it's one of the best looking Ferraris ever made, with a Capristo exhaust. I think it's probably the best sounding V8 Ferrari ever made, and I think it would be a very special car to do it in, particularly as it's manual. So these were all the thought processes that I went through, and ultimately it was about understanding kind of my own feelings towards the rally. What was the one that I thought really I would enjoy the most driving? What would I get the most out of? Remember or have the greatest memories from participating in the rally in that car, and after having gone through all of that, and it took quite a while, bear in mind, I flitted from decision to decision. Ultimately, I decided on driving the F355. The combination of the looks, the way it feels to drive, the steering is just so feelsome. The manual gearbox, the noise of it, it actually has a pretty decent amount of space in the front trunk, so it'll easily take the luggage that we'll need. It's actually pretty comfortable. The exhaust is switchable, so under 4,000 revs it's not too loud, but as soon as you go over that, then it makes that awesome F1 scream. And also I thought to myself, well, actually there are going to be an awful lot of modern cars on the rally, and it might be nice to take one that isn't quite so modern. So ultimately that was my decision, and it's for me absolutely the right one to make, and I cannot wait to drive it on the rally. I think it's going to be amazing. I trust it. I trust the engineering that has gone into it all the way back from the 90s, and particularly once it's had it's had a full service done and some additional modifications, which I'll talk about in another video. I think it's going to be epic. So there we go. So that was my decision. That's what I'm taking, my Ferrari F355 Spider. Let me know what you think in the comments. You think I've made the right decision or not? Who knows? But I hope you've enjoyed the video. I hope you found it informative, just to give you an idea really of the costs involved and thought processes. Let me know what you think in the comment section. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and tell your friends about the Peak Lapel. And yeah, more to come in terms of the preparation and you know what's happening next before the rally. All right, take care of yourselves.